Like from the perspective of inmate close to completing college education, like we've had a ton of conversations where he called me late at night, like, what are you doing?
All right.
So I think she knows what's best, and I think
So what
we
did you land on?
Morning.
Oh, you guys.
So you're working with Dave. Okay. And what's this I hear about Spencer? Yeah, that was just recent.
Great thing for him.
A great thing for him. Are you doing a search now? Good.
As far as the search.
I think
Thanks for being here,
there's
Richard.
I mean, it's just in terms of expectations, I think you can criminal behaviors. Actually provide some support and treatments for the things that brought them. Yeah, I would say that.
You know which, you're fine.
You just try to get to a.
Wi-Fi.
Oh.
So, I mean, this data would lead you to believe, right, that most people are eligible for higher education.
I bet there was.
And then the cost of data was the part that
We're not serious about it.
really, because this shows that we are actually not.
It's good to see you.
We, you know, basically not assessed. We've only assessed a very small portion.
I don't think I've ever had
So
to
we
actually
just
enter it.
need to focus on doing more
I was. Okay, that was explained to myself.
Oh, is that right? Well, then I kind of go back away. We didn't get to the airport too early. He set it up for you.
Yeah. I mean, but just in terms of
Great
data,
asset.
just so you know,
By the way, I'm really excited about it. I'm probably not the only one to say that.
Oh, my heavens, well, here's the, how I find that one. No worries, it's okay. It's either the NC or the so
I sent it to them.
Very, very happy. Yeah.
This is, I assume the ESLs, which means we've barely assessed anyone. I'm not sure what to say about the demographics, just point in time, what our population looks like by risk level, age, location.
I attended commencement.
You answered that question. 24.
I was there, but those two.
No, I was the chair.
Oh, I
No problem.
that's right. So you got things going right.
It's kind of.
Well, and I'm serious about the invitations. If you decide to do that again, don't do a special thing. Actually, don't know every once in a while. So.
I mean, I like.
Yeah, the director.
I spend most of my time inside the
You remember what happened?
Biology
Yeah, I was keeping that off, so,
I just
moved out.
could
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how to share the
It just,
Yeah, we're actually going
it
to
doesn't.
there. Figure out. I've just been moved over there. So now we can reading groups because we're uncertain whether or not
yeah. We have a
Anyways, what is that?
questions about what kind of programs we will offer, everything that's here. Yeah, I'm excited to meet students and great trying to run a program out. So, have a chance to get
we in our first.
So are you the tour they show for you? Okay.
I try to just not share my frustrations.
It happens. So
All right. I don't have a gavel, but we'll call the meeting to order. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's nice to be in person. And we have a few on Zoom.
We do. We have Dan Powers from Davis Tech, Grace Acosta from the Utah Board of Higher Education, Ellen Hansen from the Department of Workforce Services, and I'm not sure who this is, higher ed for incarcerated.
Okay. We will we'll come to you on introductions on Langdon in just a minute. But on behalf of my co-chair, Representative Snow, and myself, Senator Owen, we appreciate each of you accepting the assignment or to be put on this committee. You're here for a reason. We have a great work to do, and we're excited to engage in the legislation, which is sponsored by Representative Snow, and I onto that net.
Both of us.
Good teamwork. And we've run legislation before in the same space together, and this a good man, and I think this committee and council is going to continue his great work. If he's not running for election this year, and you're gonna miss him. So he's been such a leader and a mentor. But thank you for all your lives and what's led you to this point. We're going to make things happen with in this space with prison and higher ed opportunities with Andrea and the DOC. So before we jump in to any items, do we need to go you, Jared, first, or introductions? Are you good?
You do some housekeeping and.
Okay, go ahead.
So those who are here, we have some parking validations just over on the table there. There are 2-hour validations. The first half hour is free. So depending on what time we end and what time you arrive, you might take 1 or 2. Okay. So 2-hour parking validations over there. Restrooms are just on the left across the hall here. And if you need to access the internet, we're on UGAS. And it will ask you for a phone number. So I think that covers the housekeeping.
Really quick, so some of us struggled with the UGAS. There's also my 529 as well, and that was just contributed with set the it's
Okay, so my 529 as
my
well.
529 seems to be struggling right now. I don't know.
Yeah. Some of you are from institutions that have access to have your own as well. So either of those will work.
Thanks for that. I'm going to start. We'll just go around here. We'll start with you, Representative.
Okay. I've got a chance to shake hands with some of you that I don't know. My name is Lowry Snow. My home is in southern Utah in Washington County. The bedroom community of Santa Clara, if you know where that is, right next to St. George, on your way to Tucson, so to speak, for some of you. I've served in the legislature. The end of this year will complete 11 years. And my friend Senator Owens is correct, is elected not to run again. There's a long story about that, but we don't have time now. But I want to tell you, I've been involved with education in the legislature. I chair a House Education Committee, and I've done that for 5 years now or more. And that includes higher ed as well. In addition, I've spent a lot of time, and Senator Owens has helped with juvenile justice reform and started that effort probably 6 or 7 years ago. And I learned a lot about our criminal justice system on the juvenile side, not so much on the adult side. But I've learned a lot about our system and about people having second chances and also having a chance to become educated. Education opens all kinds of doors and opportunities for people, and especially for those, I think, that are being held and incarcerated. One of the pieces of legislation I ran that I was really excited about was bringing concurrent enrollment to youth in custody. And that was 2 years ago, and worked that with Dixie State University, now Utah Tech University. And I had a meeting with those folks yesterday, and they're talking about the changes that are occurring in those young people who have an opportunity that they never thought possible, that they could actually attend college courses for credit. And that kind of lit my fire in terms of helping you all in your efforts. And I've said before, and I'll say it again, there's nothing about this legislation or this council that is intended to detract, dismiss, or take away from all of the good that has been done. Purpose for me in running the legislation was to see if we couldn't combine forces and create some momentum and power to go forward with appropriations, with expanding and making sure that we have the resources necessary to continue to deliver this program or expand this program. I know I've said more than I should, but if I act like I'm passionate about this, I am, and you all have been passionate. That's one thing I've learned in talking to the folks that have been involved, is there is a passion with this. And I'm just excited to be a part of it for a few months. So when the year is up, my term here is up. And I know that's unusual that I'm chairing for just a few months. But someone thought it was a good idea. And so that's a good lead into to Representative Melissa Ballard, who's not with us today, but you'll see her on the list. She's ex officio. She will be taking my place after the first year as the House of Representatives chair. And she texted me this morning. Unfortunately, she got back from Europe and tested positive with COVID. She's quite ill, so she's not able to attend. But I know she is likewise excited and ran legislation as well, dealing with some of our work. So thanks for letting me spend a little more time than normally I would. I usually don't like to take a lot of time with introductions, but I wanted to say those things, and also from the bottom of my heart, tell you thank you for being here, making the effort and making this work. Andrea, Corrections, thank you for your support, for the higher eds that have come forward in support of this, because it is new and it's a little bit maybe worrisome. But I truly believe that we will support each other and come up with some a good product and a good effort going forward. And by the way, Michael from Snow College.
Yes.
We don't want to leave Gunnison out of this, or if we can, we want to the extent that we can, we want to see if we can't serve as many folks as possible. So anyway, I've said too much. Jared?
Thank you, Representative Snow. And as far as just having a few months, that's all it takes to change the world. My name is Jared Haynes. I'm Senior Advisor to the Commissioner for the System of Higher Education. My background has been in the technical college system. As most of you know, 2 years ago, the System of Technical Colleges and the System of Higher Education merged under a newly combined board, and great things are happening, I think, for both parts of the system, which are now really one system. It's hard to even say parts of the system, but I think there's great attention to technical education across the board in all the institutions and pathways for students. Per the bill, the statute, the Commissioner Dave Wollstone-Hume is, or his designee is a member of this council. He's designated me to fill that role, as well as to oversee the staff support that the statute calls for there. So Jared Haynes, and I'm happy to be here.
Sure. My name is Rich Christian. I'm a member of the Board of Higher Education. I was delighted when I received this assignment. It is a very tender, hot button for me. Much of my life has been focused on educating, particularly underserved or underprivileged youth. I just completed assignment at the board of Southern Utah University. And we had this beautiful program we coupled with an organization called Hustle 2.0, and took several of my dear friends, including President Bursty, Steve Lisenby, went kicking and screaming to high desert to spend 2 days teaching that program. And coming out of that, the impact is just absolutely remarkable of fundamentally teaching a few key principles. Their focus is fatherhood and entrepreneurship. And so I'm very excited to see what the board is doing. This is an area that I am passionate about. I'm looking forward to participating.
Good morning. My name is Roxana Molina. I'm a former student. I did a few of the programs. I did the University of Utah, Davis Tech, Business Tech, Culinary Arts, a few UPEP classes. I'm super excited to be here, honored to be a part of this, to help others, and hopefully make a big impact.
Thank you. We're going to lean on you. So.
Morning, everyone. My name is Andy Eisen. I'm the new director of the Utah Prison Education Project at the University of Utah. I've met a few of you and glad to be working with you all.
Carrie Main, I'm with the system office. I'm the chief economist with the Commissioner's office. I'm part of that staff Jared's going to direct.
I'm Tammy Wilkerson. I'm from the Uinta Basin Technical College. I too am leaving my post in February and handing the reins over to Vivi Dawkins. But I've been involved with the Duchesne County education program for about 9 years now. And so it changes lives. And I see that. And so very technical education is powerful.
I'm Mark Dawkins. I'm Vice President of Instruction at Basin Technical College. I'm taking over from Tammy, and I'm learning everything I can from her.
Hello, I'm Richard Gonzalez, Assistant Commissioner for Access here at the Office of the Commissioner. I oversee FAFSA efforts, state FAFSA efforts here, and then also my doctoral research is on adult learners, so I can probably bring some of the literature that can help us.
My name is Lynn Kavame. I work at Southern Utah University and specifically at SUU Online. I'm just here as a guest, but I'm really happy to be here. We have a wonderful program called Speedway. It's a Bachelor of General Studies degree at $75 a credit hour. It's a fantastic opportunity, and I'm hoping that we can plug this into all the wonderful initiatives.
Morning, my name is Mike Medley. I am former Dean of the Business Supply Technology Division of Snow College and transitioning out of the CTE Director position currently to concentrate as the Director over the prison programs at Gunnison that we offer down there. So I'm happy to be here. We're looking to do some more things down there. I happened to run into the principal of Central Utah Academy yesterday, so I gave him an invite, if that's okay. We're starting to work together on some things collectively, so I think it'll be useful to have him here to see where we're heading at.
I'm Christopher Bradbury. I'm the academic coordinator for Salt Lake Community College Prison Education Program. We help students achieve their general education certificate as well as an Associate of Science in General Studies.
Oh, I get that. I'm sorry, just to interrupt. Some of the people on Zoom are not hearing very well, so please speak up to the people out there. Thank you.
Right when it gets to me.
Yeah.
Now I have to set the bar on volume. My name is Andy Peterson. As Mike said, I'm principal at Central Utah Academy. We've been offering some classes from Salt Lake Community College and are hoping to transition to Snow College as it's much closer. And I promised Mike that I wouldn't say much, that I would speak only when spoken to.
Blake Jackson, I'm the Deputy Warden for the Programming Division. I've been with the Department of Corrections for 22 years, and I oversee our certified staff, both our case management staff and our education team as well, and was really happy to see Andy show up.
I'm Andrea Parrish. I serve as Programming Director. I oversee all of the treatment, therapeutic, vocational, higher education, regular old education, and greenhouses, volunteer religious services. So we do a bunch of things. And I say we do all the fun things, right? We do all the things that are have a basis in hope. And so it's an honor to be here and serve in this capacity. I think education is one of the cornerstones of helping people successfully reenter. So this is, of course, a shared passion I have with Representative Snow. And I just wanted to thank you personally for your vision, for getting the momentum going, and just have a deep shared heart for this type of work. And I want to assure you that we will carry it forward on your behalf. And really, thank you for all the effort that you've made for us.
Thanks. Thanks, Andrea. We're going to go online now. Helen, we'll start with you. Unmute.
Good morning. My name is Helen Hansen. I'm with the Department of Workforce Services, Workforce Development Division. I am the Service Area Director for the Wasatch Front North. So I pretty much over North Salt Lake all the way up to the Idaho. And I'm just really happy to be here today.
Great, thank you.
Wait. Helen, I rode up this morning, or flew up with Steve Lisenby. I had to hear about half the way how great of a person you are.
Oh, we miss him.
Yeah, well, anyway, I told him I'd say hello to you, and He thinks the world of you. So
Oh,
thanks for being part of this council.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see the name up on the next.
Grace Acosta.
Go ahead. Oh, yes, Grace.
Hi, good morning. Grace Acosta from the Board of Higher Ed. I'm happy to serve. I'm a lawyer, I'm a mom, I'm the daughter of educators. I'm super happy to bring some new ideas, hopefully, to the board and to help implement the past accomplishments. So just glad to be here.
Great. We have Dan Powers. Dan, would you go ahead?
Good morning, everyone. First, I have to apologize. I'm having some technical issues, so you cannot see me. At any rate, I am Dan Powers. I'm the program director for Davis Technical College. I oversee the prison education and also the juvenile system. We're in our 13th year of providing technical education to incarcerated individuals for the Department of Corrections. Again, we're very excited to participate.
Glad to have you. Thanks for your background and work, Dan. Next, help me, Jared.
Higher ed for incarcerated youth. Sorry, we'll get in here.
My name's Nathan Kaplan. I was invited by Lowry Snow to observe. I run the incarcerated youth program that was sponsored by Senator Owens and Representative Snow. And we've served about 50 students in the last year, and they've earned about 500 credits from in classes taught by professors from Weber State, Southern Utah University, Dixie or Utah Tech now, and a few others. And we just want to make sure that we're overall in alignment with what this great council is doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. I apologize. There's no way I could recognize you with that beard, but it looks good on you. I know, Nate. Thanks for your great work and helping support. Any others?
I think that's it.
That's it. Okay. All right. So our work will begin, everyone. We have an agenda in front of you. Kind of explain how this will go. But first of all, I'd like to share something on my screen, but I don't know how to do that.
You have share screen icon on your Zoom.
Okay, just go here, Jared. Help me. Okay, right here. Okay, now I can share it.
To find the screen you want to share.
Right here. So this is the screen I'm going to share, but you can't see that.
Well, let's back out of what you got there.
Okay, great. Let's go back to, I just have a little introduction for, so I go here and share screen. Right there, that's what I want to do.
That'll show everything.
Okay.
Oh, your computer wants to check your security for some reason.
Okay, it's not gonna work. Dang
You
it.
can send it over to me.
You can send it to Jared if you send it.
Okay, I'll send it to you, Jared. Email it to you.
I'm seeing it and I can tell you it's worth seeing. So
I've done some research and I want to share it with you, my research here. So let's go new message. YouTube.
He loves Andy. He can talk.
I gotta catch up.
I feel like I'm here with all my friends, like, all the crew. Yeah, all people that make magic happen.
Okay, just get it set. I'm not gonna play with it all.
Go ahead.
All right, so what this is Representative Snow, we've run some legislation before. In fact, I'm going to quickly tell you about one this last year that we ran. Mirrored a little bit of a Texas bill, and it was successful, but it removed a barrier, removed liability from businesses who hire somebody who has a felony. they can hire them and not be sued for negligence simply because they hire them. Now, if they are negligent, they can be sued. But just hiring a felon shouldn't be cause, and it has been. So we put that little buffer in there, and made it, and then we had to kind of tweak it, make it industry specific, like over the road truck driving, transportation, culinary arts, and then other industries started to come to us and say, we want in, and not the other way around. But this will help formerly incarcerated individuals that knows on parole obtain some employment. We had, for the first time it was introduced, the bill installed in committee. Because the Utah Trial Lawyers Association had issues with it. We adjusted a little bit, that's the work we do. But the next time I brought Sione Havili, I don't know if you've seen his story, but Sione was incarcerated, life stories, half hour, he has a YouTube video about his life, and then trying to find employment, not being able to do that. And, but on Silicon Slopes, the company said, we're taking a chance on you. You're too good, we're not passing you up. He's now an executive at Domo, and doing great. So that bill was helped to move along with it. We brought 20 former incarcerated individuals onto the Senate floor and the House floor and recognized they thought they were there to support the bill, and we walked them out on the floor, and it was a moment for me that I said, if I never do anything else in the legislature, this was worth every minute of time. And I know you've had a number of those experiences. This, being on this council, is one. So this research I did was your family history representative. This young man is Representative Snow back in his younger days. And he can bring in all kinds of facets. He can hurt anything, and what this is going to be, I found with all the institutions, everybody trying to be part of this work. This is what we're going to do as a council. So tell us about your grandfather. Go ahead.
All right, now we have to try to figure out how to make this sound work.
Did you have all these institutions working together in this council? I need to meet. Okay, I think I'm there. No.
This man right here is my great grandfather.
I think we just got a little bit.
You have to see this. I just got my.
Yes.
seem like herding cats, that will bring all of your brains or your background. I
Deck problem.
It looks like. I know. All right. Okay. Stand by up there.
Here at Commissioner's Office as the Assistant Commissioner for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And I'm so happy to be a part of this.
We're still gonna start that.
Are you the primary?
I think it's working now. No, it's not.
Where's the main line?
All right, I think we're good now.
On my
Good.
end, is that better? Can you hear us on?
I apologize for that. I think the phone was, I turned up the volume for the video. Didn't turn it off. All right. Thank you. So just to catch the people out there, someone's asked if I introduced the next part of the agenda, and that's the review of our higher education plans for the upcoming year. We've asked each of the institutions to take a couple of minutes or maybe a little bit more if they need to, just to give us a high level overview. What's the landscape of the programs that we have coming up in the corrections education system. And so we're going to begin with Davis Technical College with Daniel Powers, if you want to get ready for that, Dan. Then we'll have Snow College, Salt Lake Community College with Dr. Bradbury, Uinta Basin Technical College with Vice President Dawkins, Director Andy Wilkerson, and then the Prison Education Project with Andy Eisen. So, Dan, are you there? Are you ready?
Hey, Mayor, thank you. As we prepare to begin instruction at the new site, we will continue to offer technical education in an open entry, open exit format. All of our programs are 900 to 1,000 hours for the incarcerated individuals. The curriculum mirrors exactly what we offer on our main campus. The programs are accredited to the Council on Occupational Education. We currently offer 5 programs for men: automotive technology, CNC machining technology, culinary arts, and business technology. 2 programs for women: business technology and culinary arts. We are in the process of working with Andrea and her team, instituting 3 additional programs for women, which would be IT, web and graphic design, and automation and robotics. These programs all offer industry certifications in addition to the certificate that we offer from our institution. And we're getting very, very close to being able to offer AAS degrees with Salt Lake Community College within those disciplines. That's really what we have upcoming. If there's anything additional, I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, that's what we do.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Let's go to Mike at Snow College.
Snow College has been working primarily at the Gunnison facility. For a decade plus, we've been offering 2 programs, the building construction program and the culinary arts program.
Are you hearing okay out there?
They're both year round, 3 sections: fall, winter, and spring. They're take about 16 to 20 students each. They're kind of a rolling enrollment. That's when the student finishes, they find out the person to come in. We have a dedicated space there for the building construction, so we have an own space that we operate in. I think it's right next to the place where they make the signs. The culinary arts doesn't have its own dedicated space in the corner of the commercial kitchen there where they serve inmates, and we take that over right after lunch and work in there for about 5 or 6 hours. Neither program offer credit up to this point, so they're non-credit programs. We've given certificate based on a course-by-course and a pathway. This fall, we're working on introducing credit-based activity on the construction management piece, because we have a program from that aligns with that, so we're working on that right now. So those are the two current programs. Working with Andy at the Central Utah Academy, we're beginning to work on offering a computer networking cybersecurity pathway. Because we were limited space where we were, I reached out to Andy and said, you're not using that classroom. So I'd like to use that classroom. So he and I are working together. The first 2 or 3 courses in that pathway, we will be offering to his high school inmates for concurrent CTE credit. And then we'll offer that same year-long pathway. There's 2 certificates there, one on networking and some introductory cybersecurity coursework. That's my area of expertise, so they'll be working with my program that's based in Richfield. And those are all credit-based courses, all aligned to IT industry certifications. So we're kind of excited about that one, because I think we'll be able to leverage that space in that education platform for more inmates than 16 to 20, which is a limitation we have in those physical spaces right now. Other programs that we've discussed with the Department of Corrections, with the George Elman down at Gunnison, with Andy, is we don't have these running currently, but these are the ones that we've talked about before. There's some CDL training, possible code camp, a follow-on program to the culinary arts and restaurant management. And then some others that came off of the list is some graphic design, architecture, 3D modeling, those types of things that we can offer in a classroom setting. My document has a few programming issues and bottlenecks that I think could be discussed, but they're not really in identification. And I'd like to say Owen about a few of those things. I have to answer any question that
So I have a question, Michael, and maybe Daniel as well. But I'm interested in the interest of those you serve, or the inmates, for these programs. Is there, how strong is the interest?
I don't know the answer to that. We're not. It's one of the bottleneck things that I'm hoping we can work on. Is I'm not very intimately involved in the process of finding inmates to enter in my class.
I see.
I don't see the inmates. We don't interview the inmates. I'm told here's the inmates that's coming in now. And so I can't really gauge what's the interest in it, because I'm not involved in that particular process.
You deliver the product.
I deliver the product when the inmate shows up. I found some inmates that, well, I'm going into some of the issues I think this committee can help resolve and streamline some things for the relationship. But I think those are some areas where we can be a little bit more efficient in that process. One of the reasons we got with Andy is because we wanted to offer those first 2 programs, first 2 classes, so we could gauge interest at the high school level, and then fill that course after those.
Sir, I don't have the data, but I can explain how that works as well. So to get into these programs, they go through their case managers. So meeting with the case manager, just voicing interest in one of these programs as well. The case manager checks, just verify, do they have the requirements, high school diploma, certain reading, math comprehensions, and then we put them on what we call a needs list. Basically, what the needs list is just allows us to see those that either need a program or those that are interested in a program as well, so that we can start to gauge, the interest in these programs and stuff. And there are times as well when we're first starting pilots or programs and stuff like that. We want to see what is the interest, educate the individuals, educate our case managers on the programs or the classes, so that they can try to just drum up some interest in them.
Thank you. I'm going to follow up with that. What are the barriers for an inmate? They have to be so far along in their sentence, or are there any barriers that keep them from just getting right in and work?
I think it depends on the program itself as well. Like we talked about bringing on more of a web design.
But with the technology changing so often, we're trying to get them in closer to release date, because if they complete that program, still have 5 years to do by the time they get out, that technology is old. So there is a timing piece to it as well.
That would certainly be the case with the networking, cybersecurity programming, things like that. Those change every year and a half to the platform. So that's
Yeah.
But an associate's degree doesn't expire, so there's always work to be done.
Sure. Which includes general ed.
Correct.
And what's tough as well is sometimes you're competing against other things like a residential treatment program for substance users or sex offenders. Other treatment that we're trying to give them the most amount of dosage right before they're released from prison. But that can compete with the vocational training programs and that as well. And it's also hard with indeterminate sentencing because we don't quite know when the timing is right. And sometimes by the time they get to release date, we realize there's not enough time to try to get some of these things done.
Or that you've expended resources and it turns out they're there longer.
Yes.
I could actually just add a little bit to the interest that I've seen down in Gunnison. We at Salt Lake Community College have not wanted to expand beyond our service district. Nonetheless, we've had some of our established students that have been transferred to that facility, and we have felt a need to try to help them continue with their working towards their degrees. So we've tried working with Andy on a number of different occasions. We've run a couple of classes down there, but it's been very difficult, and Snow College ultimately needs to be there doing that work, we strongly feel. That having been said, I have on my desk about 40 or 50 handwritten letters from inmates down in Gunnison asking us to come in and offer higher education to them. There's a strong desire down there for it.
Yeah, we're bringing up a good point. And that just a couple of down the line here, we already see some of the how big this is. And you're mentioning Gunnison and the new Salt Lake facility, which is incredible, by the way, and will really enhance education. But we also have 24 different county jails throughout the state who receive inmates who might transfer from your institution where you're teaching in Salt Lake to Garfield County. Well, how are we going to make that education? How's it going to go with them so that they can stay, they can keep their hope and keep their education process going? That's going to be a big hurdle for this council to look at and offer some suggestions and ideas on. So, yeah, thank you. Dr. Bradbury.
So Salt Lake Community College, we have about 400 students in our program, just over 400. We offer 2 programs as of right now, a general education certificate, as well as a general Associate of Science and General Studies. These are fully accredited, they don't expire, like was said earlier, and this is a degree that they can actually, if they want to pursue higher level degrees such as a bachelor's at a different institution, they can transfer their credits. We had about 120 students taking classes last semester, and we had 7 graduate so far this year. And those numbers would have been much higher had it not been for the severe disruptions due to COVID earlier in this year, and as well as the move. We've been shut down for the summer. We are also currently piloting the restitution of Pell. We're one of the Second Chance Pell experimental sites. And I was actually just in Washington, D.C., where I got to meet with our colleagues from Texas, as well as about 200 other institutions from around the country to work out the kinks in that and figure out better work with the financial aid office in regards to that.
Excuse me, before we leave that, Dr. Bradbury, do you have a sense whether we're going to be able to do that and see those financial resources available?
We have already started to see them. We've had success. We have had several students receive Second Chance Pell. for both fall and spring semester in the past school year. And that money was able to come in from the federal government, and the students were able to use that to pay for their tuition.
Great.
So it's a good supplement. For the 2022 and 2023 school year, our plans are as follows. For a fall semester, we have a wide range of new classes we're bringing in that fulfill our general education requirements. We have new math classes, an introduction to statistics, college algebra for business. We're bringing in physical geography, cultural anthropology, American history, as well as a computer essentials course to allow people in the prison system to be able to catch up with modern technology. Some of them have been in there for a very long time, and you got to relearn it. And for the 2023, we're bringing in a nutrition course, a financial literacy course, and we're hoping to also bring in a professional sales certificate with our business department on that, and hoping to expand potentially into bringing in some sort of a humanities degree program in addition to our associate of science and general studies. Future plans, we're working in the process of creating an SLCC hub in the county jail system to provide a centralized location for all of our students as they get moved around. We're working on, like I said, bringing in other degree programs, as well as we would like to eventually pair with one of the four-year institutions to do a 2+2 program and allow students to not only get their associate's degree from Salt Lake Community College, but to then transfer to that 2+2 program and get their bachelor's degree.
Great, thanks. A lot going on. Appreciate it. Any questions for Salt Lake Community? Hey, innovation.
So our program is out of the Duchesne County Jail, and we offer a single program. It's a residential construction program, 60 hours. And I did create a little slide for that we could go through. Go ahead and go to the next slide. This is actually the previous one. Can you go back there? This was this year's graduation class that we had, and for many of these students, this was the first graduation ceremony they've ever attended. And for me, I've been in education for 30 years, and I've gone to graduation every year, many different graduations, and this is the most impactful graduation I've ever been to. These guys were amazing. And we've had this graduation for the last few years, but our goal is to get them skills that they can use when they get out and be productive citizens.
Excuse me, sure. Approximately how many are in there? Looks like about 20.
We have 30 graduates.
30 graduates.
Yeah, and every year has gotten a little bit.
There's actually a kind of a ceremony.
Yeah, the last 2 years we just
pretty emotional then.
Yeah, very.
And are families able to see virtually, or they're not even virtually? And they get degrees in or certifications in construction. Is that right?
Residential construction.
And the idea is that when they're out, they've got with those skills a good job.
Yeah, they'll have the opportunity to work in that construction crew, run their own. I mean, we do have a story of someone coming back into the basin, and he's a contractor. Very successful.
So actually becoming contractors. So one of the pieces of legislation I didn't get to, but Darren's going to pick up on, or Senator Owens, is I actually approached licensing DOPL to waive licensing fees for those who are released and moving back into the workforce. So if they obtain the education that qualifies them otherwise for a license to waive the fees. So is that something you might consider? Is that?
I'm taking notes right now, Representative. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Look into that. So waiving the fees for these individuals.
Yeah, or anyone that receives instruction that qualifies them for a license, professional license, and as part of them getting out and becoming part of the community, waiving those fees, so.
Because we built homes from the ground up, they are introduced to electrical, plumbing, HVAC, roofing, cabinet making. We actually make our own cabinets for them, so they get a very well-rounded introductory into construction. And we have had students come back and work in our cabinetry shops. We lose contact with the students when they go back to the main site, but sometimes they stay in contact with the instructor, and so we do get that feedback of where the student is.
Where they are.
And it's been some very positive stories come out of it.
I can only imagine. So thanks for letting me interrupt you with some questions, but it helps me to understand. Appreciate it.
And this is one of the homes that they built. These are for low socioeconomic people buying their first home, moving into the first home. So that's the market that we're building for it. And this is a rural community, and this is how it comes back into the community. Our next slide. This is the commitment. The Duchesne County Jail is very committed with this, and Uinta Basin Association of Governments, UBAG, is also a partner in this, and we pull all of our partners together to make this happen, and it does give back to the community in a very visual way with a home, but it also gives back to the community for people to be able to become productive members of the basin. So our next slide is just these are just the numbers, and the top number was as of April 21st, and so we did have 30 students complete the program. One of the challenges was brought up earlier. We have students come into this, they become part of the program, but before they finish, they get moved to another system. And so that's the reason why they don't finish. If they move on, that's the one reason that we have not completing the program. We have many people in it. They like was mentioned before, they'll be in treatment, which will pull them out of this program, or they'll get transferred to another program, which will finish.
On that point, I'm going to count here. I know that the education piece can't control every movement of the inmate, right? But
I wish we controlled everything through education, but it doesn't work that way. Not yet. We have some plans.
Are there some slight, or does it get any consideration, or what would somebody just move right out of the program?
I mean, the answer is complicated, so bear with me for just 2 minutes. We've had historically challenging low numbers of correctional officers to keep our new institution operational and running. And so we rely heavily on the jails as our overflow mechanism, who have staff to safely house those individuals. One of the results of that, though, is that people are getting moved because there's a bed available and not because there's an appropriate opportunity available. And I think I can safely speak on behalf of Utah Department of Corrections that we are trying to, and this is not easy, but we're trying to figure out a way in which we move people according to their individualized needs. So education will be one of those needs that would be a driver of that, rather than just an available bed space, right? But it's super complicated by short staff, right? So the first thing that needs to happen is we need to hire more correctional officers and be competitive in that realm. And that will free up some opportunities for us to then really, I think, fully embrace this mission of individualized case action plans driving where people end up, right? And then I would love to say, if you're in a place, you're in a vocational certification program, let's keep you there until you complete it. Because my dream is to have people do the thing that they think is that they're passionate about, that's meaningful, that's going to contribute to a future that will promote a job that's family supporting, wages. Sorry, I'm very specific about this, not just any job, but a job that you can actually support a family on. And that's felon friendly, right? So a prior felon can have that job. I think that we absolutely need to champion this idea of I think there's a lot more interest than we're able to really filter into those seats, right? There's a lot of educational seats in our system, but we're not filling them by any means. So that's challenge number one. Challenge number two is how do we keep them in their seats and complete those certifications? Because it's incentivized, there's mandatory time cuts for the board. So it contributes to a shorter sentence. That's a huge incentive. So I don't think it's a lack of incentive. It's a challenge of the system to coordinate, big system and coordinating the movement of all these people. And then the staffing challenges is why we're struggling. But we have to, and I actually want Blake to speak to this because he's been super instrumental and we've been designing a new system that would start to kind of push this type of movement.
Yeah. So our goal is to really provide the right services to the right individuals at the right time as well. We put a lot of work into it as far as just identifying the right services. I think it's what we're doing here as well, the right education services. But in addition to that, the right services when it comes to just reducing criminogenic risk factors as well. We put together a dosage committee that has looked at all the different programs and classes nationwide and put together an approved program and class list to help address those things too. Now, as far as identifying the right individual, we start with our mental health assessments, our medical assessments. We do a criminogenic risk factor assessment. It just identifies those risk factors in 8 different categories. And then we also do a CASAS assessment to assess their comprehension levels. They might have a high school diploma, but if their reading level is at a 3rd grade reading level, it's probably not the right time to expect them to be successful in some of these higher education areas. And then we also do an ASAM assessment, so we can determine their level of care when it comes to drug and alcohol problems as well. So timing is what I'm getting to is a timing piece is where we're at as well. And it's like, okay, so if, even when it comes to, you want to base it too, it's let's not just give an opportunity to those individuals who happen to live in Duchesne County Jail. Let's identify those who might be interested throughout the state. And when the timing is right, we fill those beds in purpose to keep that program full rather than just giving it an opportunity to those that are in that area.
With that opportunity being the purpose.
Yes, yeah. So we're starting to move them with purpose now, and we're working on ways to identify why are these individuals being moved as well. Is it for convenience? Is it because we've got a rural county jail and we just have beds that we need to fill? So, you know, we're not so worried about the programs and classes, more worried about, you know, keeping people employed. So the fact that this guy's at the right medical level that he can live in a rural county, that's why we're moving in that rather than saying, but can we find someone who's a good fit for the county jail, also needs the programs and classes we offer in that county jail?
This shows my ignorance, but who does make that decision about moving?
So it's usually security. It's the Division of Prison Operations as well that's looking to fill those beds and stuff. We've been working on a kind of a pop-up blocker as well. When they put in a request to move an individual to another area, if they're currently enrolled into a program or a class, they have a promissory note, anything like that, it just says, hold up a minute, you know, by moving this individual, you're going to disrupt some of their programs and classes. Are you sure you still want to? If so, what's the reason? Have them pick a reason, and then also put in a comment as to why they're making the move, so we can really start to identify what our constraints are, why they're being moved.
Representative Snow, I'd like to ask one question because I also am new to this, but it feels like that this is a pretty precious issue. And it feels to me this is a precious issue. If we have someone on a path to success, and then we get 2/3 soon, we jerk them out because of the bad issue. I mean, I guess that's what I'd love to understand is what's the bad issue? that seems like pretty poor thinking to me, because if they're in bed, there's a bed. So what are we moving? Is it an economic issue because they're shorter somewhere else and it's an economic selfish motive? If that's the case, it's like we've got this ass backwards. Sorry, yeah, but we really, really do, because a bed is a bed, and if someone who's coming in, speaking in the bed, tell you complete something. I'm not drinking my kids out of high school 3 weeks before graduation because bed came available in the new appliance. But it's so sorry for the bluntness, but this seems really low level thinking from my perception. And if we're using beds as the justification, we better reanalyze that.
Well, I may be speaking out of turn here, but I know county sheriffs are responsible for their county jails. And that includes not only security and public safety issues, but the financial issues too. So there are counties that rely on getting prisoner inmates to help maintain or finance, sustain their operation. I know what you're saying, you're shaking your head, but that's the reality, and that's something that maybe we need to grapple with. And I'm not saying that's the only driver, but oftentimes that's the driver.
And I just want to maybe recognize that there's a win-win possibility, that it's not all as terrible as it may appear at first. Because I struggled with the same thing, like we're financially incentivizing people to move and it's really disruptive and not really helping people. And if the goal is successful reentry, we've sort of harmed ourselves. So I'm with you. I see that perspective. And also when you're really short-staffed, those availability of jails is a huge resource to us. And we actually pay, we have pass-through money that we give to the jail. So if we don't use that bed space, that's money that they're going to receive regardless, right? So we want to maximize our ability to use those bed spaces, but we want to also ensure that that we're not warehousing individuals, that when they go to a county jail, they're also being given programming opportunities, right? Whether that's treatment opportunities or educational opportunities. I think, in order for the entire system to function collectively, we need to be building opportunities and creating continuity across institutions, including the jails, right? Which there may be technology involved in that. There may be movement that there could be like hubs where, UB Tech specializes in building trades, and there's a bunch of people that want to do that, and we send them there together and they complete it, right? So I think we could create a system that works well collectively, but it's going to take a lot of
I could just add
Yeah,
on to
please.
that for just a second.
And I'm gonna come back to you guys.
Okay, thank you, Rich. I love the passion. I haven't been university, but thank you, and I share that. I just wanted to say that, I came in as the director in 2018, and I have seen a tremendous shift in corrections in the emphasis on keeping students in place while they're in our program. And I just have to say that Deputy Warden Jackson has been a tremendous asset to us in that area. He has made certain, to the extent that he's able, to keep inmates in where they are and to keep a hold on them while they were facing historic moves. The pressure that was put upon corrections to move people around and prepare for the new movement up to the new facility was just an incredible undertaking, and all of that. Just heroic efforts. It's hard to keep inmates there so they could finish. As Dr. Bradbury said, we had 124, I think, complete the semester. To a large extent, yeah, but including helping if there was someone who was moved incorrectly to identify that individual and try to bring them back so they could complete the semester. Anyway, I've seen a change, I've seen a shift. I'm excited for the future. I just have to publicly state, I think it's just been a tremendous undertaking. Appreciate that.
Thank you, David. And
Go ahead,
just one more thing. There are times, of course, it makes sense when they do it. If there's an assault and they can no longer live there, a lot of times it's in medical levels as well. Depending on their medical level, we would have to be within so many miles of a trauma one center as well. So when we start to have medical reasons, mental health reasons to keep them out of the county jails, and a lot of times when you filter out those individuals, we're left with those who are eligible to move to county jails, but it doesn't quite make sense to move them to a county jail if we don't offer the services they need in those county jails.
And that kind of comes back to the needs list that we've been working on, is identifying the needs of these individuals up front, building a case action plan so that we can kind of see what the plan is with these individuals during their incarceration. And then when they end up in a county jail, to be able to say, okay, looks like we've got 25 people in this county jail that need this service. Can we bring that service to them in the county jail? And if we can, then we need to move them to an area where we can offer those services. But start to do it with purpose as well. As we start to identify when the timing is right, we can start to stage people as well, to say, we've got a group of Beaver County that are about to graduate this treatment program. We've got the 25 already identified to move into those beds as well. And then, yes, put a hold on them as much as possible. And then just that continuous care plan, say, if we're offering an anger management class in Uintah County, we've got to be offering that same anger management class in Washington County. That way, for some reason, we have to move them, they can continue on instead of just starting over because it's a completely different program. Yes?
Can I say something? So being, an inmate at the time that I was, it was really hard to get into program. Okay, I did the 3 years that I did, I had to ride kites, and it is hard to stay at the prison. I'd have to, you have to go through a lot of process so you don't get counted. So my focus was to get in education, get into my programming, but education wasn't in my cap number one. It was my drug program, which was Excel. So it kind of clashed because the drug program Excel is, at the time it was 11-month program. So I couldn't do both the Excel program and my education. So my priority was education at the time, but I couldn't because I had to do my drug program first. So how do I want to say this? So the people that need that program, like their drug program, like what about their education? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, because Excel, I don't know how it is now, but at the time it was 11 months. And college is only, a few months or, 6 months to a year. How does that work with that?
Yeah.
With the new prison, because a lot of people have to do their programming first, being the sex offender program, being the Excel program, and how do they get their education? Like, it was hard for me. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
We do have to identify priorities, and I would say, from my perspective, if we don't treat the reason that people come into our care and custody, but we provide a lot of education, we're just essentially making educated criminals, right? And that's not the objective. We have to remedy those key risk areas that we identify in the LSR and our risk assessment tool we use. So first and foremost, we need to provide high quality evidence-based treatment, because if we don't do that job well, then the rest of the work that we do is going to be lost, right? We're going to see them back in our custody. And then I would say our secondary priority is affording them educational opportunities or vocational certifications.
Senator, can I add, just to extend the focus on the inmate movement a little bit? I don't know what the other academic institutions do, but we kind of lean on some inmate assistance in the programming areas. And oftentimes we'll have them move after we've got them up to speed to handle something for us, and they get moved for reasons why, which we understand. And so if we can red flag or pop up on those and say, this person, if we could keep this guy in for 3 years or something like that, because I'll go in and teach them, this is what I need you to, when I'm not here teaching them, sage on the stage aspect of the instruction, and I need somebody to show the inmates how to configure a switch or something like that. And I've got an inmate with that capability, and there's often some of them much more educated than I am in the space. So they're taking the lead on some of those things. I need them to stay as much as I need the inmate student to stay.
Yeah, we bring the steps on that function in OTRAC. We're just waiting for DTS to assign it to a programmer because DTS has been real busy as well. But it also affects our Utah Correctional University students as well, they'll have someone who knows how to run a machine really well. And then next thing you know, that supervisor gets there Monday, how come he didn't show up to work? Oh, he was moved to a county jail.
Yeah.
Well, he was the lead, he was the person that ran this machine for UCI day after day after day as well. And that's another thing with the timeline chart is now UCI can be involved as well. Start to say, it looks like we're coming on the timeline when they should enter a residential treatment program. Right about now is when I should start to train the replacement, knowing in a few weeks, they'll be really good. If I could real quick just answer your question as well, because we used to have sign-up sheets, right? You wanted to get into a program or class, it was up to you to find a sign-up sheet. A lot of times it'd be 25 rows to sign up on, and you'd see names on the front, on the back, on the side, everywhere as well. Where now that we're saying, let's funnel to your case managers. Your case managers basically have become a guidance counselor, a career counselor, student counselor as well. And then once we have you on what we call the needs list, we're tracking you. No matter what county jail you end up in, what facility, we've still identified something you need. And then when the timing is right, we can address that need. Education, we should be front loading people in immediately, identifying their comprehension levels, start to increase their reading, their math. If English is a secondary language, help them develop that as well, so that by the time we get close to the end, we can start to address these criminogenic risk factors that seem to keep individuals coming back time after time after time.
Yeah. One more comment here, and we'll go to Salt Lake.
I apologize. I'm actually just supposed to listen, so I may not get invited again to this. But
We want you to talk.
I do come from the online world, and so my question is to Roxana. And I realize that there is some training that can't be done online. I do realize that. But do you think that it would have been helpful for you to have the option of doing some education online where the timing is flexible, so you don't have to be in a classroom setting at a certain time? You could do your treatments and you could work on your studies on off times.
Absolutely. You know, the 3 years that I was in there, if I could have done online schooling, it would have helped a lot. I would have got a lot more done. My associates, you know, more things done. But unfortunately with COVID, like a lot of things stopped. You know, we were stalled for like a good year, like just being in a room, you know, so COVID, you know, impacted it in a very negative way. But, you know, the school that was offered, you know, Salt Lake Community College and UPEP, that helped a lot.
And obviously COVID is one of the drivers of online education, and it's more widely accepted and prevalent than ever that this is an option for a lot of people.
Thanks for the question. I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
We started here. This is the cats, okay? There's cats going everywhere, and that's what the beauty of it.
Right.
We're gonna try to get our arms around this, and we have support of everybody to do it. I agree that there's been some fast backwards activity going on, and it's just because of maybe the enormity or the size. And so it's exciting to be here, part of this council with all of you, because we're gonna find out some ways forward that really impact generations ahead.
Well, I just would like to bring this to a close real quick from our point of view. We have, I understand the enormity of the moving parts, and I want to commend you for all the work that you're doing, Deputy Jackson. But one of the things I wanted to show in this data is that if you look, our enrolled numbers are typically around 30, right around 30. And our completers are going up year after year after year. So what's happening is exactly what Deputy Jackson's talking about. We're keeping people longer because our completion rates are going up. We're at 96%. You'll just see that as we start working the kids out. And I know it takes a long time to do that. But it's good work.
Point that out, we can see that. Yeah. And the reason they're not graduating is movement.
Right, and we're getting better and better at keeping them where they can complete, and I know that's all the work that Deputy Jackson and Amanda's do.
Okay, thank you, great discussion. Let's go to the University of Utah Prison Education. Andy? Great. Oh, there you go.
Thank you. So I think I have a slide that I'm sure will come up here in just a moment, but UPEP supports incarcerated students as they explore their world and themselves through the reading, writing, and discussion inherent in our liberal arts and science-based curriculum. We have really three pillars to the mission. The first is educational equity through on-site higher education. The second is advocacy, and the third is empirical research, which is led by Dr. Erin Castro, who just joined us here. She is the co-founder and former co-director of UPEP and is a leading scholar in the emerging field of higher education and prison, focused on evidence-based approaches to expanding the field of higher education or college and prison. For the upcoming year, we will be providing educational programming in each of the housing units at the Utah State Correctional Facility. We serve about 100 students in total. Through a partnership with BYU, we will also be able to offer credit-bearing courses in spring 2023. Here I'd just like to state that it is our hope that we will be able to offer additional credit-bearing courses either through the U or partnerships with BYU. When I talk about college programming that we offer, I mean credit-bearing classes, non-credit-bearing classes, lectures, workshops, reading groups offered by University of Utah faculty and community members and graduate students. In the long term, so far, all of our credit-bearing courses have been made possible through individual donors, and it's not a feasible way to provide a pathway towards a degree-bearing program. So we're looking towards trying to find additional ways to secure funding or partnerships. We've begun a very early conversations with Salt Lake Community College about what a 2+2 program might look like in the future. We're eager to be able to provide opportunities for incarcerated folks in the state to earn their BAs, and hopefully through conversations with this council and partnerships, we can determine ways that we can support incarcerated students to not just finish their technical college, their AAs, all very important things, but to earn their BAs.
Thanks, Sandy. I think I know what a 2+2 program is, coordinating that with Salt Lake Community, but tell us a little bit about that, but what that would look like.
Right, so essentially what we're thinking about is how we can work at the University of Utah towards a degree that would connect with associate's degrees that are completed at Salt Lake Community College or other colleges, so that what students are earning at the associate's level, that there is a direct connect to the U, where the classes that we are able to offer will work towards a degree. So the 120 credit hours that are required for a degree, the 60 that are done at Salt Lake Community College, the 60 that we're able to offer through the U are kind of transferable and are all working towards the 120 that are needed for a major.
Great, thank you. Any questions for you? Thanks, Andy. And Dr. Costa,
you can call me Erin.
Yeah, you've been legendary in this, so thanks for all of your work.
This is a good-looking council.
Yeah. So we're going to carry on this work, and you're going to help us keep it.
Happy to serve.
Thank you.
We may want to hear from some percent comment or two that was suggested that you've got some programs that you're working on. Please.
Yes, well, Hustle 2.0 is a program, I don't know, I'm sure some of you are familiar with it, and we have an agreement with them, and they're the members of that team.
And we already use that in our prison system. It's in our restrictive housing areas.
Okay, fantastic. So we're cooperating with Hustle 2.0 on furthering the education of these individuals. And in addition, we have a wonderful program called Speedway, which is a Bachelor of General Studies online. And it is at $75 a credit hour, which makes it the most affordable bachelor's degree in the nation so far. And so we just see that there are lots of synergies with what we do that can be helpful here. Our Hustle 2.0 program is headed by our professional development office, and they have wonderful certificate programs that help people in general to be ready for the workplace or to gain certificates in specific knowledge areas or technical areas. Those certificates, many of them are credit bearing, so they can matriculate directly to SUU and they can hop on to Speedway or any other bachelor program that they're interested in and continue their educational journey. We have found for underserved populations, often it's about confidence. They don't think they're college material often. They don't know how to get started and they're scared to take that first step. And starting with a certificate program seems a reasonable task. So they start there and then they realize, I can do this and I can do more. So we try to provide that pathway from getting a certificate to getting a degree and helping them to be really ready for the world. This Speedway program, we partner with other organizations like the Blue Foundation that help survivors of human trafficking, USA Collegiate, that is at-risk youth who are interested in football. A lot of them, they don't know where to go now that junior college football is not really a thing. So there's an organization that gives them this opportunity to play football, but education is a big part of their mission. And so we have partnered with them to help these youth to gain their education as they play football and give them other opportunities aside from sports to excel. So that's it in a nutshell. And so I'm just here to sort of let the group know of some of the things that we're doing and to throw our hat in the ring for any help that we can provide. I'm very, very passionate about serving underserved populations. And I'm just happy to be here.
Thank you for sharing. I understand that President Wyatt Scott is now with higher ed here, and he's helping to support, facilitate, expand that too, so that on the statewide level. Am I accurate about that?
I don't have much contact with President Wyatt. We've had a little bit of dealings here and there, and he actually encouraged me to voice some of the things that we do, just because when I have a chance to grab his ear, I talk about things like Hustle 2.0 and Maloof and such. And he's like, well, Lynn, just, dive in there and see what you can do. Don't be silent about it. So he's a great mentor.
He's now working for USHE and his focus is on online, developing online opportunities.
Great, that'll probably integrate here somehow, that we use that resource. Okay, we finished with is there any other institutions that have something to share? Andy, too, or at the high school level?
At the high school level, my big focus is to create a pipeline. Talked about skill deficient learners that they can't read very well. However, they're excellent with computers, and so we can provide that link from helping them upskill to getting them to a place where they're training for a career. And the work that we've been talking about with different institutions, some are more skill-based and some are more maybe general education, liberal arts focused. And I'm hoping that we don't see that as a false dichotomy, that we can have both. I also want to kind of point out that we have a vast, I'd say largely untapped resource academically. Mike alluded to this earlier, that we have inmates who are better at that craft maybe than you are. And well, you admitted it, you're saying that? You admitted that. But and they're happy to serve at 50 cents an hour. So if we can connect them with the right resources, supervising faculty members, if you want to save money, that's a great way to do it. One last thing, tablets, inmate tablet usage. If we can coordinate so that we can have hybrid instruction, so that we can transfer from CUCF or Purgatory, which is an excellent name for a
that's in my backyard.
Yes, you know about that one. They can it's not online versus face-to-face, but we can have a happy medium where they can have weekly access to an instructor, and making sure the infrastructure is there for that would be a great piece of.
What do you have in that space now, Andrew, with tablets?
So I love that we get to talk about tablets, because that's like one of the things that I really need some support, honestly. During COVID, we sought some federal grant money to purchase some tablets, and we successfully purchased 2,500 tablets. We've already begun distributing them, so we released, I think, several hundred in the Bear unit last week. The population is overjoyed to have technology in their hand. It just gives them a ton of opportunity. But one of the challenges that we face is we don't have ongoing funding for those tablets, and we only have enough tablets for every other incarcerated individual. So right now they're sharing a tablet with their cellmate, and they're not super thrilled about that, but we're gonna make it work for now. I do see this technology being the future, and maybe it's not in the form of tablets, maybe it's a laptop or something, right? Tablets they're pretty, they work well in that setting because we can secure them. We work through a company to secure them, and they're pretty difficult to demolish, although we've already had one last week demolished, so they'll figure out a way. Yeah, but I think the way I understand this is that when we had COVID, the general public, the school system, your children went home, got online, and attended their classes. And maybe it wasn't ideal, but it allowed them to continue education. And largely our population got forgotten, right? No technology was offered them, no continuation of education. We were just like in a hard scramble moment of how do we keep moving people forward on the things they're trying to achieve. It was really challenging, and I wish we had the forethought to get tablets in order and sort of get together the funding to support these. But we're here now. The tablets are there. I think we've done a lot of internal investment. We've put a ton of staff time and resources. We put an FTE together, a tablet technician, out of our internal budget. We've self-funded that position because we believe it's imperative that we have technology in the institution. But that's one of the things we need to continue to work through, right? We don't know what the future looks like, and I would hate to say we've done all this work and invested so much and then have it disappear.
So.
Sorry, that was a pitch, but I genuinely still we need it.
What I was going to say is, I hear about the funding challenges and coming from private donors, and I can't make any promises because I won't be here, but I know Andrea and others, I said, the promise of this council is to be a force for the state in appropriations. And Senator Owens is a champion up there on the Hill, and he'll be a champion. And I think one of the most important things about this council is you're going to have a strong legislative voice, I believe. And with your help, helping our colleagues to understand how important this is, I can't tell you it's going to be easy, but what I can tell you is that there's going to be more emphasis, I believe, put on making those resources available. And I think I've already told Senator Owens, if an issue comes for appropriations and they need my help, even though I'm not up there, if my weighing in on Zoom or in person helps, I want to help. But Andrew, one of the things you said is, and I believe to a large extent, is technology can help us piece these things together. It may not be able to teach someone how to measure twice and cut once and pound nails, but there's so much that we can do online now and with technology anyway. I didn't mean to make a speech, but I want you to know that I feel strongly about that, and also tell you I have a meeting with the speaker that kind of was going to require me to leave a little bit early, so if you excuse me when I jump out of here, that's the reason why.
Absolutely, and thank you, Representative Sullivan, because the part of his meeting with the speaker can include the voice of this council. He'll report on how this is going. So pitch anytime, and what we see in.
I'm unabashed. I want to help these people. They're my people, right?
What we see in K-12 and a lot of districts is the student will take their tablet, and when you graduate, you keep it. And they're becoming so less expensive that we can get sponsors for our inmates. I know industry will help provide those. And if you graduate, you keep your tablet so that when you leave, you bring in, you integrate, you have an ability to make appointments, have a calendar, okay, communicate, email, same thing with cell phones. You know, maybe we should look at a 90-day cell phone that you leave so you can have some success to contact you. All of those things are items we can bring together as part of this council, and that funding piece that the representative mentioned, we might be able to pull together. Why not? But give every chance for success. It's a lot less expensive to do that than to have them back. Exactly. So, Dr. Catherine, and throw you on the spot for a minute here. Would you, anything you want to share with the your background and what you see or would like to see from the council?
Sure. I had just planned to listen too, but I just have to say, Roxy, I didn't even recognize you. It is so wonderful to see you. Thank you. I'll just say that I'm super excited that this has come together. We are following the lead of other states who recognize a real need that so many of us are doing excellent work and doing it separately. I'm really thrilled that folks from USHE are here because when we talk about things like 2+2 pathways and all the wonderful articulation agreements we already have in the state, we do not have to reinvent anything here. Essentially, we just have to bring these things together, right? So the work that USHE's already done to make articulation possible, the excellent work that Salt Lake Community College and the University of Utah are doing in the Harriman campus and satellite campuses, we can treat Draper Prison as a satellite campus. I think we're going to be able to expand the various opportunities that we already have there. And I would just say that I empower all of you to use exactly what you were just saying, that legislative voice, because I do think people, I do think all of us as a practitioner in this space, we want a bit of cohesion. We want a bit of camaraderie, and we want to make sure that we're on the same page. And so I'm thrilled to see this come together.
Thank you. Thanks for your leadership and all of this too. And Representative, you're excused whenever you don't feel that you have. Part of our agenda was we just jumped right into, and that was committee discussion because of the great ideas that you have. Now we're going to turn some time over to Andy about the transition to the new prison. If you want to add on to how that's been and what that's going to look like. Yeah.
Was a once in a lifetime move, right? Like it's an experience unlike any other you can imagine. It's 2,500 individuals were moved from one facility and successfully so to another. Thank you to an enormous effort, not just on behalf of UDC staff, but all our allied officers, Salt Lake City Police Department. A ton of people contributed to make that successful. It was hard to keep it under the radar, not publicized into the news media. So there was a lot of covert operations, like daily meetings. It was crazy. And like, frankly, it was 8 years in planning and making it happen. Did we get everything we wanted at the new prison? No. But did we get something awesome and far better than what we had? Yes, right? So the new space it's beautifully designed. It has tons of light, which I think is something we shouldn't take for granted. It's a human need. So it's really great that we have that now, both for the people that are incarcerated as well as our staff. There's a lot of programming space that we're grateful to have that we want to take advantage of, right? So I think the move has been interesting. The real work, I think, we thought the finish line was getting people moved, but I recognized very quickly that we can celebrate too soon because the last 2 weeks that have followed the move have been, I think, the hardest in my career. Just the hurdles, all kinds of little things trying to get worked out, facility design. We wanted to have people go to worship, but they didn't install the right cameras. Like, just as an example, like endless kind of little minutia that we've had to address to get things going. But we'll iron it out. We're going to get there. We're committed. And I think, you know, having this council gives us an opportunity to start talking about some of the higher order issues and how we address those by keeping people in place long enough to give them educational opportunities. But we have a lot of ideas. So I don't know. I mean, so I think Davis Oak Tech really, you guys addressed some of the new opportunities in terms of vocational offerings. So, you know, we only offer 2 programs to women, 2 certifications, which is an embarrassment. I'm happy to report that we've really rectified that, and now we're offering a lot of new opportunities to women. I'd love to see welding on the list, but we're still working on that. I wanted to add that we also have a horticulture apprenticeship certificate for the women as well that we're working on. We're still building our greenhouses, so they're not complete yet, but we'll get that done soon too. It's gonna be quite a journey, and I just want to say that we're committed to evidence-based principles, to examining the data and making sure that our labor data really is driving the purpose behind what certifications we offer, because we want them to be meaningful and translated to jobs. So at my level, that's what I'm committed to, is kind of making sure that our system works well for the people we serve.
Thank you. And I can say for DOC, in my time, I chaired it's an appropriations committee over executive offices of criminal justice, EOCJ. So I don't even know the name of it unless I go back, but we just call it EOCJ. So the Senate chair of that, which holds the budget for Department of Corrections. And in my time serving there, DOC has been so open to criticism, and there are a lot of critical voices out there to audits, and to listen to concerns and try to address those. Moving into the largest the industrial building project that the state has ever undertaken, and most expensive. And some people are upset about that, by the way. There's 2 sides of the aisle that say, why are we building something so nice for inmates when we have people who are homeless? You know, you can talk around that all day long, but we were determined to have a state-of-the-art facility to help reintegrate. And when you talk about, when I've talked to you in the past, you say the first day in is the first step towards reentry into society. I love that. So thank you for being open, and your team, Director Nielsen. And we're gonna, as a council, we're gonna bring you a lot of things. You're on the council we can take back, but I think we will be able to make a big difference with this. Appreciate your work, and hats off to you for the big move. You wouldn't realize that it has to stay. There are security issues. They can't just announce we're going to move 2,500 inmates. People would be lined up on I-15 or whatever, say hi to the family. So they just was quietly but visibly going about the work. Good job. Carrie, with Carrie, going to share with us some current available data. We are behind schedule. We won't get to everything on our agenda today. We'll reset that.
Too busy wrangling cats.
So Carrie, we're going to go there, and then we're going to probably save the council vision and priorities. But you will have an assignment, and that's on the agenda, and that is to look at the statutory duties of this council. What's set in law that was established, sponsored by Representative Snow. So Carrie and Andrea, if you would share that current data that we have.
I'll be very brief. I apologize, it's very small up there. Additionally, there was a grid to help you read the lines, but it looks like it went away. So I apologize. I think what's more important is to maybe tell you how we get the data, because it tells you how it's not really fully robust. But we have connections, and we can make plans to get to a place where we'd have a more complete data, like UB Tech was able to draw out a very specific picture for their institution. So what we have, we don't have a prisoner student data system per se. What we have is a way to infer through a back-end route what could potentially be, so not potentially, what are courses being taught at the prisons. When we see the courses being taught at the prisons, we can see the people taking the courses, and then we can give you things like the count of the enrollments and the number of credit hours and things like that. So we're not finding within a student database, there's all the prisoners, or there's all the incarcerated individuals, and then look at their education history, but rather we're looking at courses, and our courses have what's called a site type. And we could find a site type that is Gunnison or Draper or things like that. Hearing all the presentations from the different institutions, I know that we have holes in this data. So we would have to work, and then I was just reaching out to make sure that the University of Utah has plans to ensure that that data gets coded so that it then comes through our way. But this is what we currently have. This is just to give you a picture of where we are, and I guess we're at the table here to work to further draw a robust picture based on whatever your needs are moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we can track and provide overall educational data on our population, both those who are incarcerated as well as those who are under supervision, who have paroled. Unfortunately, there's a big chunk of the data that's missing, 36% we can't account for, right? So we don't have a very complete picture of what the education levels look like for our population. And then we see that the data is rife with errors. This data is hand entered by our case managers and a bunch of other people in the system. So it's challenging, and we've spent the last couple of years, and I want to give Deputy Warden credit here for Blake has really done a lot of effort to clean up the data, to train individuals so it's entered appropriately, and it's getting better all the time. It's just not there yet, right? There's a flag that sort of signals to an individual entering the data to make sure that they're entering those degrees when they're completed, but it's not always done. So I think, one of the challenges is just continuously training and supporting individuals to make sure that we're inputting the data responsibly and appropriately. And then just having a system that's smart, designed well, easy to use. Those are always perennial challenges for us. We have the capacity to track current and past enrollments in high school and vocational trades. But we still need some enhancements and fixes from our DTS system. We didn't get a lot of support and programming from DTS for the last several years, and we were just barely getting some renewed support there. We kind of had to push hard for it, but it's happening. Yeah. There's lots of inconsistencies in how data is being tracked over time. And our tracking methods often change. So people that are doing the research they're not even the knowledge experts about how to extract that data. They kind of rely on our staff to figure that out. We can track class and class section level, but we need to be able to track program level to really make the data meaningful. So that includes tracking an overall start and end date with the type of completion. So did they successfully complete, unsuccessfully complete? I think also when people are being moved, and we're trying to do a better job of this, of tracking why they were moved, having somebody have to enter that, it gets flagged, you have to enter it, and then we can say no fault of their own, right? So we collectively will have a very robust understanding of why people are getting moved or not completing their programming or certificates. And we maybe even could sort of get into the minutia of understanding if there's a lot of people not completing no fault of their own and they're getting moved, then we can raise that to our executive team and say, here's the data, can we think about ways to do this differently? So I think data is powerful. It does tell part of the story anyway. If we're able to track at the program level, individuals will show up as being enrolled in a program, even if it's between semesters. And currently, no one's really enrolled right now. We're on a halt, right? So we need to be able to get people registered for new classes to have a really much, at this point in time, I can't report to you how many people are enrolled because we're in between classes. But, as fall semester begins, we can give you some data around current enrollments, if that's helpful. One of the things a vision I'd like to set is just, and I think I already spoke to this, is making sure that every educational opportunity that exists, that we fill those seats, right? Because we have people that need these opportunities, but we're having a hard time connecting the people to the opportunities, and we need a more robust system to help direct that. We're working on a plan, but none of these things happen overnight, and IT resources are scarce for us, so we kind of have to beg for them and take the help when we can get it. One of the other challenges, and we've already talked about this a little, is we really have struggled to do the CASAS assessments, which are those early assessments that give us an understanding of where people are at for their reading comprehension as well as their math comprehension. We know people can't take advantage of higher education, even if we see in the data there's a lot of people eligible for higher education, right? So I don't know if that was attached, or I do have some handouts, but we have a snapshot of the number of people that are college ready. And the way we know that is they either have a high school diploma or a GED or equivalent. And it shows that 64% of our population should be eligible, right? But I think when you dive into that, so that's 3,746 is the number of people that should be eligible. And when you dive into that number, we know that a good portion of those individuals are unlikely to be successful in a higher education or vocational certification program because they just don't have the reading comprehension skills. So even though this is a higher education council, it's imperative that we make sure that we're doing good evaluations to ensure that we're getting people on track and ready for higher education. So as we partner with the new schools district, Salt Lake School District's Horizonte program, we're hopeful that they'll step up and help us do some more cost assessments. We've asked our allied volunteers, chiefly the LDS faith volunteers, to help do some cost assessments because we don't have the staff resources to do it. So that's one of the ways we are always creative in work. We come up with workarounds and use the resources we have in the most creative ways we can think possible. And then the other thing is we're systematically kind of trying to change how people enter. So we're making education kind of a litmus test for programming opportunities. So if you're not at that 5th grade reading comprehension level, you have to be, I think we're calling it education compliance, is that correct? So you essentially need to say, I'm committed to working on that in order to be eligible for other programming opportunities. So we're trying to kind of create some incentive to get people education compliant. Yes.
So I'm very new to Utah. Could you tell me a little bit about how reading grade level is determined and how someone could go back and retest or how that works?
You're up. Yeah, absolutely. So upon entry, this is one of the things that Andrea was referring to, is we are trying to do our assessments not once they're into their housing unit, but at the intake process. It's called RNO, receiving and orientation, and making sure that we can do that in a quick manner is challenging because of the facility. Also COVID restrictions. I can only have 2 inmates at a time in a particular section where I can do those assessments. Now, being able to do those assessments on the inmate tablets will be a boon. However, the company that's providing these for us is having difficulties working with CASAS, making sure that you can actually do the assessment on the tablet. So there's some technical issues that go into that. But once they hit I believe it's a 9th grade reading level, we consider them proficient, and then they can move on. They are at that point education complete. So
I can't speak to Utah, but at least in Florida, with a number of the folks that we worked with, who were brilliant. Upon intake, they were given an assessment and they were depressed. They have a long sentence. They don't know that the test may determine whether or not they will have educational opportunities in the future, and so they just Christmas tree it. And so, that seems to be an issue if we're going to be kind of connecting that to future opportunities in higher ed.
Yeah, and we have to work closely with security to identify the correct ones to assess at that time, because sometimes they're coming off substances. There are lots of different factors why that might not be the best time to assess for the classes at least. There are other assessments that have to take place. So yeah, we have to work with corrections to do that correctly.
So if I could take a minute on that too. So what we developed, we call milestone management as well. So once we've done an assessment and we know what the risk factors are, we open up certain goals for them to work on. Being careful not to overwhelm. We don't want them actively working on 8 different things at once because people tend to shut down. I know I do. And so once we have that goal, one of the milestones that we want to work on first is just to help them get a high school diploma as well. And so by doing that, by creating this milestone for a high school diploma, what a case manager is telling the education team is either I found a verified high school diploma in our system, but I'm not sure where they are as far as their assessment scores. Can you guys assess them so that we can create an education plan? Or I can't find a high school diploma. Can you search the state or other states to try to find those transcripts so we can get it in our system as well? And then inside our milestones comes our activities. So we want to track their progress using certain activities. We call it a full kit as well, to be able to say, okay, they need this many credits. So we want to break this down into activities so that we're working on maybe 4 different activities and we can track their progress. And then comes what we call stuck status. Basically, we've run into a constraint and the progress is stopped. And now we want to identify what's causing the constraint. We broke it down into 3 categories. It's either the individual, they just lack the motivation, or they're dealing with, who knows, it could be a number of responsivity issues, or it's the UDC system. We want to get them assessed, but we don't have the resources to do it. It could be multiple things or something external. And lately it's been a lot of external. COVID, it's something from the outside that came into our facility and shut us down. That's been our biggest constraint there as well. But if we put somebody in a stuck status, if we try to do a costless assessment and they're refusing, then we're just saying, look, their progress has stopped. We can't move on as well. And it's a message back to that case manager to say, reach out to them, try to help them understand why it's so important to get these costless assessments done so that hopefully we could remove that stuck status and continue to progress forward as well. So once again, using this process we've developed, it really does allow that case manager to become a student counselor in these situations.
I guess I appreciate that information. I guess my point was kind of flagging a concern for those who have high school degrees or GEDs. I think there was a comment made that folks may not have may not be equipped to take college level classes, even though they have a GED or high school degree. And I would just kind of flag that as being something that maybe that should be returned to, because there may be reasons folks scored poorly on their exams. And so if those counselors are using data that was taken at a time when someone didn't realize that that exam they were taking would mean whether or not they could get to the University of Utah, that could be a problem.
Yeah, the timing is a big piece of it too. Might not be the right time because of some of these things you're saying. We run into the same issue with those with drug and alcohol problems that have been brought in because of a parole violation. And they're not quite stable enough to where we could do an actual assessment. But at the same time, there's a chance they could move to any one of the 20 county jails or down to Gunnison. And some of these counties lack some of the resources to do some of these assessments as well. So we've got to determine, do we assess them now? If we wait, do we have the resources to assess them?
And maybe there is potential technology that could play a role here, where if the costless assessments were on the tablets and they had access to a tablet, then when they're ready, when they feel ripe for that moment, they can take the assessment knowing that it can be the door to a higher education.
That's what I was hoping too, that you could keep that We're out of time, but if you had a comment before we go, you had a question?
I'll
You good?
you good.
Okay.
Can I make just one final observation?
Please, yeah.
I guess two observations. The first is the video of the cats terrified. The concept of chasing cats around sounds absolutely exhausting. And I think we're really in danger of that. I might suggest that maybe we try going to a route of financial friction, so that chase all the little cats around in the weeds, try getting at least the lead cat. My experience has been that we can get where our financial friction point is, it may get a lot of other cats. So that was first thought. My second is I think another factor we have to take into account here is rather than stir out and create a bunch of new programs to do stuff that's improvement, is look to maybe industry and other partnerships that are actually really working and put more juice on that. I'm not aware of all of them, but I know there's the Delaney project we really haven't talked about. I know that Joseph Grandy and what that group's doing is having some amazing impact. This Hustle 2.0, it's in the language of the incarcerated individuals, so it's not coming up to the high and mighty Towery to receive a little dose of higher education. It's actually language so that it's having impact. And I might suggest that maybe that's a place we turn to also and go to source with already proven outcomes rather than bigger.
Love it. Thank you. Yes, please.
Really quick, one last. I don't know if I'm gonna be here next time because I'm representing our associate commissioner. But so IBES, program IBES, Integrated Basic Education and Skills Training. Basically a program that has been in several states where a student without a high school diploma or equivalency completes their high school equivalency concurrently with a technical education certificate. So my really quick question was, how many students do we see that are hitting that barrier of not having the high school equivalency, show interest on post-secondary education, but are hitting that barrier and stuff? And looking at this data here, the 35.65% of unknown, right? Are we bundling those with non-high school completion? And I just wanted to plant the seed in that some states have seen very successful outcomes on completing high school equivalency at the same time as they're getting a certificate. So I guess my final question would be to you: have you seen students that show interest but don't have a high school equivalency?
We don't require that, so it would be the Department of Corrections sends the students to us. We don't recruit.
So just a thought.
Yeah.
I would just chime in here really quick to say, absolutely. We during COVID waived the high school requirement and saw a huge increase in our student base. So even for folks who were in process and COVID slowed them down, we were able to gain access to a student population that we had never gained access to before.
Great question. No, this is perfect. Listen, everybody, we have a lot of work to do, and you can see that there's a lot of factors and variables here. We didn't quite make it through our meeting today, our agenda, but we plan to meet again on the 24th of August, if you'll put that on your calendar. I want to thank Jared for being the lead on this and helping us form our agenda. He worked closely with Representative Snow and I. And so I'm going to have a little assignment here for you to try to narrow this down and not create a bunch of new programs, but get some suggestions from each of you in your spaces of expertise. But as we wrap up here for the day, thank you for your time and everybody's comments. In 2015, there was an audit done, and one of the issues that came out of that audit was that AT&T, that the adult probation and parole, they talk about technology and emerging. In 2020, I think it's 2020, maybe not 2019, but just recently, within 2 years ago, they got off of paper. So you had thousands of inmates and their lives were in folders and paper, being pushed around on cards. So they've made a heroic leap to get onto technology and emerge that. And that's something as a council we need to embrace and help them continue forward so that we can make better decisions. Have flags go up, wait, this student's 3 weeks away from a certification. Don't send them to purgatory or wherever they go. So our work is vast, but we need to narrow it down so we can make a difference. This council, I would invite you as we move forward and we find things that we would like to see the legislature move on. Please feel prepared to come and testify on the Hill and talk about things you see and support what we want to do as a council. So next step will be look on number 5 of your agenda. It says the statutory duties. We're gonna go over those when we first meet. That'll be agenda item number 1 for next time. And we'll have a discussion about that. And our next meeting will be August 24th. So as you look at open discussion of council duties, vision, and priorities, would each of you just take a minute and send Jared an email about what you think where should we go from here? We know who each other are. We know what the institutions are. We know some challenges. What do you think how should we start this journey to be effective? And if you see some things in place, we'll gather those, he'll get those out to us and we'll create part of that of our next agenda.
Please. Maybe to help facilitate that, some of you have already given some input over the last few weeks. I've tried to summarize that. Maybe I can start by getting that summary out. That might prompt some other good thoughts that we can add to it and finesse it and work from it. So, excellent. I can do that probably the next day.
Okay. Then all of you will have his email. We'll have that summary and then we'll start from that point.
And there are some of our council members that we may want to think about having on our regular invitation list.
Okay.
So, good idea.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Please travel safe going back. I don't have a gavel, but we will. The meeting is adjourned.
Don't forget your parking validation.
Yes, parking validation. Thanks for being here.
I'm taking the stairs, but I didn't see it.